Hi, so this is going to be the first video of a few where we're going to look at division, and I'm going to take you right from the basics and we're going to look at how to do short division. And the method I'm going to use is what I would call the bus stop method, but it may be known as other things to you. So let's have a look at it. So I'm going to ease us in. We're going to start with something nice and simple, which is a good way to do anything you're doing in maths. Start with what you know and then build your skills up. And that will really help if you feel you get very anxious doing maths or you find it challenging. Go back to something that's quite easy and straightforward and then build your skills up. Okay, so the first one is 684 divided by 2. Which shouldn't be too intimidating to look at. And because this is an even number, so an even number will end in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, then we know that it can be divided equally by 2 with no remainder. And this is how we write it. So I'm going to start with the number we are going to divide up, which is 684. And then the 2 goes in front of it with this little box around it. I need to give myself some room there. So that's why we call it the bus stop method, because it kind of looks like you've put it under a little bus stop. And this is one of the things that I think really confuses people about division, how it's written. Because if we said it, we could say, how many 2s are there in 684? And then it would make sense that way round. Or we could say, what is 684 divided by 2? So there's different ways of saying it. And the way that we write it, if we're using the division sign, is we start with the number we want to divide up and then follow it with the number that's being divided into it. Whereas if we're using the bus stop method, it's written the other way around, and that can cause confusion. Right, let's get started. So the other thing you have to be careful of when you're adding, subtracting, or multiplying, we always start with the smallest number. So when I say the smallest number, I mean the smallest place value. So this end will be the smallest place value, and this end will be the highest place value, because this number is 684. So hundreds is our highest, and that is our starting point. We're going to start by saying, how many 2s can we get from 6? How many 2s go into 6? So 2, 4, 6, that's 3. And there is no remainder, so we can just carry on. How many 2s in 8? And there are 4. And how many 2s in 4? There are 2. So 684 divided by 2 is 342. And that wasn't too challenging. Most of us can do our 2 times table. There was no remainder on any of those, so very straightforward. Okay, let's try this next one. So now we've got 756 divided by 2. So let's start here. How many 2s in 7? There are 3. 2 times 3 is 6. We will have 1 remaining. So I'm going to take that 1 and I'm going to put it in front of that 5 to make 15. And the reason that I do that is because the 7 is hundreds. They're 10 times bigger than this place value, which is tens. So when we have 1 remaining here, when we pass it over, it becomes 10. Now we're going to look at how many 2s in 15. And there are 7. And again, 7 2s are 14. We're going to have a remainder of 1. That's going to go in front of that 6 to make 16. And we then say, how many 2s in 16? There are 8. So 756 divided by 2 is 378. Right, moving on to the third one. And please don't forget, you can pause this at any time. So if I'm going too fast with the numbers, you can pause it so you've got time to think and calculate. And also you could pause it and have a go yourself when you feel ready, and then just check your work by pressing play. Right, here we've got 414 divided by 3. Now, there's a nice little trick about when you're dividing by 3 and 9. Same thing. If you look at these numbers, we've got 414, which is made up of a 4, a 1, and a 4. If we add those digits together, and they are a multiple of 3, then we know that number can be divided exactly by 3. Let me make that clear. So add these digits, we get 4 plus another 4 is 8, plus that 1 is 9. And 9 is in the 3 times table. It is a multiple of 3. 3, 6, 9. So therefore, 3 goes exactly into that number. If you're not sure about that, have a little play about with some numbers. Anything where the digits add up to 3 or a multiple of 3, i.e. they are in the 3 times table, then it can be divided by 3. Okay, let's go. So 3's into 4 will go once, and we've got a remainder of 1. So that's going to be carried over, put in front of this one to make 11. 3's into 11 goes 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So we will have 2 left over. Put that in front of our 4 to make 24. And 3's into 24 goes 8 times. Now, if you're not good with your times table, or you're still practicing your times tables, then a good idea is to write out the table that you're working on at the side, and you can take your time with it then. So we could say 3, and then 3 plus 3 is 6, and we just got to keep adding 3, and then we can have the 3 times table ready. And I'm doing this quite quickly, but you can take the time you need, so that then when you come to something like this, where you've got to see how many 3's are in 11, you can see that we haven't got enough for 12, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'll get rid of those because they make it look like minuses. Right, let's carry on. 2,850 divided by 5, and the numbers got much bigger here, but don't let that scare you. We're only ever tackling one number at a time. So let's set that up. We've got 2,850, and we're dividing by 5. And what you should know is that anything that ends in a 0 or a 5 can be divided exactly by 5, because all the numbers in the 5 times table, all the multiples of 5, will end in 0 or 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, etc. When we're dividing by, if we have an odd number, then we're going to end up with a 5. And if we have an even number, we're going to end up with a 0. Let's see if we can make sense of that. 5's into 2. 5's into 2 we can't do. We can't get a whole number out of that. Now, some people like to put a 0 above there, just so you know for place value where you're up to. But be sure to understand that that does not impact on the value at the end. Again, we'll have a look at that. So that 2 is not being used, so we're going to carry it over to make 28. 5's into 28. Well, 5 times 5 is 25. So we get 5 out of it. And if it's 25, we've got a remainder of 3. So I'm going to put that 3 there and say 5's into 35. And that goes 7 times. And finally, 5's into 0 goes 0. So our answer for this one is 570. And you need to be sure about when zeros are important and when they're not. This 0 is not important. It's not impacting on the value of that amount. However, this one is very important because without it, we've got 57 and not 570. And remember that this is hundreds, this is tens. So if there is 0 units, we must remember to put them. Okay, and as you can see, the number that we're dividing by is even, 570. So whenever we do 5 times a number, if it's an odd number, we get 5s. If it's an even number, we would get a 0. So that should tell you that when we divide by 1,475, we're dividing 1,475 by 5, the answer is going to be odd, because otherwise we wouldn't have a 5 at the end. I'm giving you a lot of information here, so don't worry if it's too much information. You can just focus on the task. Right, let's go. So 5's into 1. We're not going to get a whole amount out of that. Now we're going to use that 1 and carry it over to the 4 to make 14. 5's into 14 goes twice. 2 times 5 is 10. So we're going to carry that 4. And now we have 5's into 47. 5 goes into 47 9 times. And 9 times 5 is 45. We have 2 left over. I'm going to put that in front of the 5 to make 25. 5 into 25 goes 5 times. So our answer is 295. And the final one for this video, we've got 672. We're going to divide by 4. 4's into 6 goes once, and we get a remainder of 2. I'm going to put that 2 in front of the 7 to make 27. And 4's into 27 goes 6 times. 4 times 6 is 24. So we have 3 left over. I'm going to put that 4 in front of that 3. Sorry, I'm going to put that 3 in front of the 2 to make 32. And 4's into 32 goes exactly 8 times. Okay, so I worked quite quickly through the multiplications there. But as I said, if you struggle with your tables, as soon as you see you're dividing by a certain number, you could write out the multiplication only up to 10 for that particular number. So in this case, you could have written out the 4 times table. And then that will give you something to work on, so you can focus on the division and not having to do it each time in your head. This is just our practice first video. There will be more to come. But also don't forget that it's always good to check your work. It just helps build your confidence. So let's go for this, for instance. We could say 672 divided by 4 equals 168. And that should help build your confidence. Right, that's going to be the end of this first video.